Hi, I'm Jeremy. Thanks for joining us today as we get our checklist done for next inspections. The last inspection on the house we were building was just under a year ago. The shear wall passed with notes to add some metal ties, which we've done. It's amazing to think how far we've come since, but also how much longer it's taken than we'd hoped. Still, we're finally just about ready to call for the next inspections.
Well, we have the joy of, I put up too many boards, thinking that was a thing to do, and obviously we didn't need them for support. And so now we're trying to get everything put in with, you know, the little cleats on the side, the drive cleats. These guys, we're trying to connect this in right over a board. And not even the magical powers of Casey have succeeded on that side yet.
So I'm going to try and boost this with night sight. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to show you something that I think is a detail that is the final way that I would do a flex duct coupler to another flex duct. So I ran my 25 feet as far as it can go. We're just shy of the box it's headed to. So here we go. So here's your line here, your metallic center line for the coupler, and you're trying to get your metal wire over that, right? Because that way it won't be able to pull back once you've got that, especially zip tied down. So I got a zip tied down there, and I will put that on. And what I've done right now is I've just taken that cut wire partway around it and then taped it with the thinnest UL listed flex tape I have, which is this Flex Fix. Now I'm going to overlap the next one, and I'm going to bring that way up past onto this piece here with that interior sheathing, and I'm going to tape it off with a much stronger tape, a mastic backed plenum tape to this piece here, and then I will put on the zip tie, and then finally I will tape the zip tie on. I think that worked great. You can see the zip tie is in. I did manage to get the other bottom one up to about here, way past that line that's underneath that zip tie. And you know, they're all taped back to each other. So the joint's not going to come apart. The pipe inside is not going to shift relative to everything else. And there's not going to be any loss of air anywhere in that system. So for reference, here is the right coupler for a flex-to-flex connection. It has a band to grab this guy here, or zip tie, or a ratcheting strap, whatever you use. And it has a second one over here with adequate space in the middle to be able to tape both in, get them around, get them taped in. So Casey's getting the sealant into the hard to reach places. She has much smaller hands, much more dexterous. And that is the last part of the HVAC that I believe that is needed in order for us to call for inspection. However, I did not get the ABS placed into test today. So I will call for 2 days from now. So we live pretty close to a really large greenhouse. You can actually see it from quite a ways up out into space. Takes up several, dozen acres, I think. And this is what it does at night. Freshly recovered from a very nasty stomach bug. We're about to test our water and see if the house supply is all buttoned in properly, or if I missed something and we're about to spew water everywhere. So Casey's down in the crawl space. We have a master valve, which I did because originally I thought that was, going to be required for them to see it for the inspection for the underfloor. So I'm going to make sure everything is off in here, which it should be, and turn to the side versus looking at the thoroughfare. Should be off. Okay, dear, turn that on. Turn it off.
found one.
All right, so the offender was this little T. I don't have any spares of T's. It was under a little bit of pressure, and I can't guarantee it was leaking out the bottom. I can't guarantee that I had it in there perfectly. So we're gonna try it again. Hopefully it is not in need of replacement. Not that it's so expensive, but I mean, it kind of is. They're very expensive parts. And this piece was way too sharp a curve, and it was twisting it. So we're gonna give this an adjustment. Casey's gonna back this out and allow this to swivel, and then I'll redo this staple. And then we'll try that again, hopefully with less fireworks, but it's not really. Doesn't really want to move much?
Well, a little bit. Quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Make it happy.
It'll be interesting to see how many more of those there are. Okay, after our mess we made there, I'm gonna try and get that dried out. Casey's gonna turn it on again. I have nothing turned on but the two lower. Okay, hit it. Well, we're depressurizing after testing. About done here. I want to be able to spend a full day in the house with everything turned on before I trust it. So we'll get those shut up again. And the ones down here as well. So the left one up there was hot. It just didn't come in any color other than blue. Let's see here. Very inconvenient place for all this extra siding material, I'm afraid. But haven't been able to sell it yet, so I'll have to use it on some other project. Well, I think we ended up with how many was it? One that was a fail. That wasn't my fault. Yes. So one that was a fail that was not my fault, and we put it back on and it just popped right off again. So
it's really hard to tell with those when they're tight enough. You can push and push, but you just don't know until you pressurize it.
Yeah, I'm not very good about using one of those marker tools. So overall, that was worse than I expected, but not as bad as it could have been. And now that we're done with the water supply, the next step is going to be to get the drainage, the DWV, under test, which will be sometime later this week. We have a couple of things left on the HVAC, and then hopefully to inspections.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, it's the next morning after we got through our water test, and I've come back out and I've just flipped this whole panel, and so far everything seems to be holding. So we're gonna leave it under test the whole day. Let me walk you through the places where I did find problems yesterday that gave me an unexpected and very cold shower. Also, apparently, I cut this. I have no idea what I just did, but that's gotta be my razor or something. That's cool. Just put that on my face and then realized that was on my face. So good times. Now that I've got a bandage on my polwedo fingy, let me show you what we have here. So this one was a me fail, and essentially I think what had happened is I was reaching around the side of this wall, which is not easy, or up underneath the green board here to secure these from both sides by myself. And I have really long arms, so I did it, but obviously not well enough on at least this one. So Casey helped me and we reseated this on both sides. She pushed, I pushed, and that took care of that one. This fitting up here, I've replaced. It's the only one of these I had. It's a permanent, you can't remove it like these brass ones you can remove. And it was a find from Amazon that was very cheap, which honestly, everything except for the manifolds, all the rest of this copper, with very few exceptions is. So very few. And I went ahead and replaced the one that I had. So it looked good for the most part, best I can tell. Only thing I'm seeing, and it's hard to get in there to see that with the right amount of light, let's see if I can show you, is that the teeth aren't really consistent. You know, they should really come out further than that. And it didn't fight me putting this one on, but on both sides, those teeth just don't look great. And it just popped right off. So this one, I've noted the brand here, and it's in the garbage now. That's gone. But that was that, and we're under pressure, so that one will stay and hold. I may replace it with a shark bite. I'll just show you this real quick. So there's two types of shark bite now. There's this, which is the shark bite max, and it does not require a sleeve. And then there's the older style that looks just identical to all these other ones that I have, and it does require an interior sleeve, and I'll show you that. They also make these ones, which are cheaper and tend to come in multi-pack, and I don't usually use them. This is a temporary structure. There's no water heater, and they need to see the hot under test as well, so I just bridge these around. It's the cheapest way I could figure to do it, and I had those parts. So let me show you that sleeve, and I'll talk a little bit about that because I find that to be a fascinating subject. So this right here is one of those compression sleeves, and it usually has a notch. I don't know what the notch is for, something in manufacturing. And this just fits inside of your push connect fitting. And when you go to attach this to a pipe, this part goes inside. And so if I ever did a PEX system of any scale again, a full house or a larger install, I would probably buy the tool that I needed, assuming I wasn't in the same state as right now where I'm just trying to finish this house already substantially over budget due to the pandemic, and we just got hit by all of that. And so every bit that I can save does make sense, and in this particular case, I already had a lot of these push connect fittings, and so it just made sense to me to use the system that I knew. But I would go with the crimp. I think I would probably use the crimp system, or maybe even make the switch if I felt like I had the money, or if I were doing this professionally. What I would probably want to do is I would use primarily copper and maybe some PEX under certain circumstances. So the benefit of this is it's fast. There's no wait. It takes almost no time at all. However, you can mess it up. You are supposed to, like most types of pipe, you are supposed to deburr the end, make it smooth, and that helps with fitting it between this and this collar on the outside. And when you go to put your pipe into that space, sometimes you end up catching that interior collar, and then you can warp it. And I think that may have happened on at least one of these, but it didn't happen on this corner. I distinctly remember it went in very easily, and I thought, great. And I should have thought, The other thing with these is that I've seen a couple of different types, and I don't know, but it's different materials for that interior collar. As far as the collars go, I haven't noticed any of the white color failing. I have seen some clear ones that have failed. And so there's a set of couplers and whatnot. Some of these, maybe with some of these, I can't remember. I think all of these were good quality. All of these were good quality, and I didn't have any problems with any of these. And they are a Hoger, I think, brand, which I hadn't heard of before either. So I took a chance on quite a few things here. But I definitely had, and it might have been some more of the corners. It might have been the corners. It probably was, because I used a lot of corners in this installation, as you can see. And they had a clear interior. And if that got damaged at all in the slightest, then I had to replace them. So that was all of the other defects, other than the ones I just mentioned. And I think one additional or two additional straight down here in the crawl that were in need of further tightening. So a drip has appeared, and I traced it up here. It's not from any of these. It's from right here. Do you see that water? Let me show you a trick. I happen to know that that is a very tight little blue piece, and there is a little pressure on this coming downwards, but it's exacerbated by a natural bend in this PEX, because I took the, this piece is not from a straight. It's off of, oh boy, see if I can get this to open up here. This is one my children have lost and ruined. There we go. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna grab that and watch that water bead if you can. So it hasn't fallen, and I have not wiped it off. Look at that. It's gone. So that's just one way you can kind of help with some of those things. It's all about how the parts are fitting together. If there's too much pressure the wrong way on that interior jacket, it can cause some problems. Well, that's a wrap for today. I'm on my way to pick up our boys from the parents, and with the water supply under test, the last thing I need to get squared away before the rough mechanical, electrical, and plumbing inspection is going to be the DWV head test. That's the drainage system. That video to come on Saturday. Thanks for building with us. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.